So welcome back. My name is Paul. A lot of people know my videos on my YouTube section. And I have a lot of sites, one of them in particular devoted to 2012, 2012crossing.com. And here I am at the end of the year, and I made a lot of commentary, putting my own 2 cents in about the whole subject, and getting a lot of feedback. And I thought at the end of the year, maybe I should put out some of my observations, you might say. People like predictions or whatever. And I'm not really into predictions per se, but I am looking at real data, things that I see that are important. And I'm thinking about the next couple of years. We're about to enter 2011 right now, and it's pretty incredible. So I try to bring people attention to things that I think are important. And one of the biggest things I think we have facing us in the near future is this whole thing with climate. Now, I know there's a lot of debate, warming, cooling, whatever. But one thing we know is that the climate is getting more volatile. It's going up and down more violently. Now, there's a lot of different reasons for it. And one of them is solar activity. A lot of people have been learning about that lately. A lot of interesting things going on in the sun right now and the whole solar system. And we have a lot of different things being seen out in the sky, asteroids and so on. We're calculating all the odds that maybe one might hit us someday. But climate is something that is just right in front of us. And there's, of course, this old joke about, well, everybody talks about the weather, but nobody does anything about it. And the fact is that, you know, human activity does influence the weather. It influences on a small scale, and enough people around the world eventually affects the big scale. I mean, it has to. I mean, we're doing things. We're blocking the sun with different stuff we put up in the atmosphere and whatever. But there's another part going on, and that is the solar warming. And, you know, we look back and we see that there's been a lot of cycles. And one of them is that before all the major ice ages in the past, there's been a lot of warmth. People putting that together say, that's very interesting. Well, what happens is that it turns out that I have this map here behind me. A lot of people know about this already, but there's a current that goes around called the Gulf Stream. It goes up there. It carries the warm water from around here to the equator and takes it up slowly, and it's responsible for a lot of amazing things with weather and so on, and circulation of storms. It goes up here, it gets cold, then it starts to sink, and it gets, since it's full of salt and salt water, it starts to go deep, and then there's a cycle. Now, that's the North Atlantic. In the Pacific area, we have a different kind of a circulation. There's one that kind of goes like this, and then there's another one that goes this way, I believe. A couple other currents. Now, what happens is, we know that all these glaciers are melting. I mean, it's just, okay, it's melting. There's stuff happening up here. There's water, fresh water coming into the North Atlantic. It cools it down. The worst thing that could happen now with our climate is this thing would stop. That the water coming up from the south would get too cold, it would get diluted, and it would no longer have the salt to sink, and it would kind of stall up there, and it'd start getting colder and colder, and next thing you know, the melting actually causes another ice age. Now, it sounds pretty far-fetched, but we're noticing that Germany, and they're having a lot of really cold weather, and we're having all this melting ice is bringing a lot of different kind of water into this area. And now, in the near future, I expect that will get worse. Now, what happens if this, if this starts to get colder up in this area, everybody's going to start moving down. Where are they going to go? They're going to go to Africa? This is all dead up here. I mean, where are they going to go? This gets cold up here too, so they're either going to have to go south or come across to South America or something. The most of the landmass, if you look at the map, that's in the middle of the equator here, okay? Here's the equator. Well, you got Africa here. And there's not much here. That's a big desert. Got a lot of ocean out here. So the land masses are in the northern hemisphere. That's where we grow food. And last year, Russia couldn't harvest its wheat. They didn't have enough wheat to export. Now, again, I'm really a practical person. I read a lot of prophecies and I learn a lot of stuff. But the bottom line is the climate is something that is beyond our power to really directly change, realistically. We can't predict it. We can't change it. We might be able to negotiate in wars and things like that, but the climate is right around us, and asteroids may come. Who knows what will happen, but we know about the climate because it's right near us, and things are happening in the climate that we should be alarmed about because it affects our food production, it affects where we're comfortable to live and how we live. Now, there are a lot of people that, looking at this situation, you start thinking, well, maybe I should move, And I would say that that's a pretty good question. Maybe we should move. People should move now. On the other hand, you might be living in a place that's already a perfect place, but you just don't realize it. So moving around is probably going to start happening, I would expect. There's a lot of people that just figure, look, there's places to live in the world that are cheaper, have more food, people are nicer, whatever. Now, that's one element. I think that the climate is going to be a major issue in the next couple of years, as I've said. Now, in addition, I think that we're vulnerable to power outages. Power outages, not just with electricity in a city, but also internet. There's a lot of cyber warfare going on. We could lose the internet or part of it. We could lose satellites. There could be an electromagnetic pulse from the sun or from a missile. So I'm suggesting that people really maximize the use of the internet to correspond, get to know people, download things, print things, and just get educated about what's actually happening now, because the more we shift in our mentality, a transformation is required in difficult circumstances. And transformation requires action. It requires a change of scenery, change of attitudes, new distribution of energy. And to adapt to what's going on in the world today, the people who are more resourceful, more caring, more optimistic, more positive, more disciplined, they just, being alert has an advantage. Just like in an airplane, you get up a little higher, you can see farther or halfway around the planet if you get high enough. And, there's things that we can learn now to make this transition easier. And, there's a lot of abundance in the world right now, too, so it's not a big deal in some ways if we just learn to be a little bit more resourceful, not waste as much, not need as much, and just be more cooperative in the way we manage our cultures. Then we can all live and enjoy our life. Now, I'm going to make some more, a lot more content because we got a big couple of years coming up and a lot of awareness going on. There's a lot of weird things. Check out my playlists and go to coasttocoastam.com. There's all kinds of stuff on the internet, but take advantage of it. And hope everybody has a great holiday season.